The Canon EOS M50 is a nice little camera, but it does lack some features. It's kind of mid-range or a bit lower than mid-range type of camera. If you've used cameras that are higher end, they have more features related to, say, photography specifically, you really get used to those things and you would like to be using them. So in my case, using these consumer level cameras, I'm missing a few things like custom modes, not having a dedicated cable release. There could be quite a few things that the M50 is lacking. With that, seeing the M6 Mark II not really being the direction I want to go with, like an add-on EVF. I want a standard full camera for the photo stuff especially. I was looking at the M5, the original M5. It's pretty nice. I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll get one of those and sell a few of my things, but I really want those custom modes. I really want a few features that could help the photography side of demonstrating it on camera and things of that nature. But I was looking at two other systems. We've got the Sony side and actually the Olympus side, the Micro Four Thirds, which I'm kind of leaning towards. So I was thinking with lenses, I have a certain set of lenses right now, the 22, the 32, the 11 to 22, the 50 EF lens and 85 EF lens, which are kind of the main ones that I use most of the time. I have a few manual lenses, but gonna keep those for sure. With that set of lenses, you got 5 lenses that I want to replace in a different system. So I was looking at options, seeing what was out there with the Sony APS-C side and also the Olympus Micro Four Thirds Panasonic side of things. So I have a list of lenses we're gonna go over with those two systems, and I added up the cost to see how much new. Of course, it might go used, especially if I even do anything. I'm just talking about it at the moment. But first, let's just start off with the camera body. We have the A6600 from Sony. It's, I think, overpriced in my opinion, and I won't be able to get it used. So that's a big detriment to the Sony side of things right now. Of course, in a few months, maybe it'll change, but right now, you can't even get it. It's still pre-order for a few months. With the Olympus side, I'm looking at the EM1 Mark II. It's been out quite a while, but is their higher end camera. Used prices are coming down. I think they're still a little high, maybe around $1,000, $1,200 for a decent used body, but it is going down. So that's a good thing and a good plus to that side of things if I wanted to make a change quicker than later on. Let's just look at a few of the features from those two cameras to see which one might work better. Different situations. With the Sony, you have the flip up screen that does flip towards the lens, which is nice. It's decent enough. I don't think I would have any main issues with that. With the Olympus side, you have a fully articulating screen that does flip forward as well, basically the same as the M50. On the Sony side, you have the one card slot on the bottom of the camera. That's really not ideal. It's the same as the M50 basically. On the Olympus side, you have the 2 card slots and they're on the side of the camera, which makes it easier to access. It's really nice. I do like the 2 card slots, having it on the side. One of the biggest pluses for the Sony side is the FZ100 battery on the A6600. That's pretty much the reason I would go for that camera, is to have that really nice large battery and then potentially get into the full frame stuff because a lot of them use that same battery. I was looking at the CEPA ratings for the battery life with the Olympus and the Sony. The Sony does appear to be better in those respects. Another nice thing about the Sony is that there's no time recording limit on the movie clips, so that would be really ideal in some situations. I do record over 30 minutes. Sometimes it's not a lot, but there are situations where it can happen. With the Olympus, it's got that standard limit of 29 minutes or so. The main reason I'm even considering the Olympus is that it has the phaser checkpoints on the sensor, and the Sony also of course has it on there as well. Now the amount of points don't really matter, it's really in how effective it is. From what I've seen so far with the Dave Mays video, and the Olympus seems to be really nice with the new firmware, especially in video situations. So, but of course the Sony has got the super ultra high end autofocus. I think that'll be pretty dependable. Either one, I think they're good enough. Hopefully, I haven't used them personally, which is the main thing that is difficult when you try to switch from something else, and you just hope that it works good enough for what you're doing. One plus to the Olympus on the photo side is that it does 1/8,000th of a second maximum mechanical shutter speed and 1/4000th for the Sony. So in that case, the Olympus, that extra fast shutter speed for the photo stuff. These cameras both do have the in-body stabilization. One is rated 5.5 stops, the Olympus, and then 5 for the Sony. Although in practice, I think the Olympus definitely has the edge on stabilization, especially in video situations. With actual megapixels, I guess I should mention, one is 24, one is 20. I don't think that's going to be a huge deal. Of course, in low light situations, the Sony is going to have a nice large edge, but Depending on the lens, I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. We'll see. Another plus for the Olympus on the photo side is that you can get a battery grip. They're not super expensive and just added battery life, better grip for vertical situations. That would be nice to have. In my case, I would need two bodies for the video stuff that I do and the photo stuff. When I go out to take photos and make a video about it, I need two cameras, especially one for filming myself, one for taking the photos. So with prices, let's add up. I used B&H just as a standard reference. $2,798 for two A6600s, and then for the Olympus at current new prices is $2,999.98, but used prices maybe around $2,200 for two of them. So definitely a plus if I could get used EM1 Mark II bodies. Of course, one of the biggest things is lenses. I want lenses that work similar to what I'm using right now because they're working pretty nicely. We've got the 22, as I mentioned, the 32, and all those. Let's go down the list of what I saw in the different formats to kind of get a comparison of prices and focal lengths, things like that. For the 11 to 22 millimeter lens on the EFM system, the Sony 10 to 18 millimeter f4, really nice lens. It has optical image stabilization. It is pretty pricey, but it's a good option. On the Olympus side, on the lower end, I saw the 9 to 18 millimeter f4 to 5.6. So a big negative, you have the smaller sensor plus a relatively slow lens, but it is cheaper, so I would probably go with that one in this situation. Then we've got the 22 millimeter f2 lens, which is what I'm filming on right now for this video. There is a Sony 20 millimeter f2.8, so a slower lens, but it is very thin, similar size, so that would be a nice lens to get. It's not super expensive. And then on the Olympus side, we have the 17mm f1.8, so a little faster, which is nice, and around the same focal length with that 2x crop factor. With the 32mm f1.4 lens for the Canon system, it's my favorite at the moment. Great for people photos, a lot of situations. It works really nicely. Really good autofocus. It's very consistent. But we've got the Sony 35mm f1.8 with the optical image stabilization. Looks pretty nice. Olympus Micro Four Thirds side, actually a Panasonic 25mm f1.7. It's super cheap, but I think it'll be good enough. We'll see. So right now I have a mix of the 50 and the 85 in the EF mount. I'm really not too thrilled with how those are working, but with the different systems, we have the Sigma 56mm f1.4. They're both in the Micro Four Thirds and the Sony APS-C mount. I think I would go with that lens, and of course the prices are very similar in that setup. It will potentially come to the Canon mount, which I'm curious about if I do end up staying with the EFM mount for now. So good option there. That's pretty much it on the lenses, at least initially. I would of course like more, but I think this is a good set to get started with the mixture of focal lengths for vlogging, for doing these type of videos, for going out, taking photos. We got $1,948 for the Sony side, and then $1,476.97 for the Olympus Panasonic Micro Four Thirds side. Of course, all the accessories, other things to use. In this case, I think with the gimbals and things, I wouldn't bother, especially with the Olympus and that in-body stabilization. It looks very nice. Be very beneficial to have just a lot of hand-holding stuff when I can to make it look decent. I have to look into AC adapters or the options for powering the camera in situations like this when I'm doing these talking videos, which take a long time. I don't really want to mess with batteries in those situations, so I'm not too sure on what options there are for the Sony and the Olympus. I'm not sure if they can do USB or they need like a special charger. We'll have to look into that, but things to consider when you're switching up stuff. So just a quick look at all of that, trying to decide if something will work better. Efficiency is a big thing, having more options, especially on the photography side of showing videos where I want to talk about custom modes or I want to talk about certain features that might not be in a cheaper lower end camera, which is just how things are. With the M50, of course, it's very nice. It works well in a lot of situations, but it doesn't have everything. So having a camera that can do more is definitely beneficial for teaching and talking about things. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm Scott Photography Banzai. If you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing. That helps me out a lot. Likes and shares help out a lot as well. Thanks again.